So, I had an unusual encounter at a campground of all places. Normally, I just go out in the woods and find a spot that I like the looks of and camp in it. But 2020, I think it was August, I went out, paid for a camp spot, and the location I was in had a little marsh on the backside of the campground. It probably had 200, slots in it, but I don't think there were more than 30 people camping. And little hillocks on either side, and then mountain range all around. So I get disturbed in the middle of the night, and I was sleeping in a mountain tent, a little tiny singular, camp tent for up in the mountains. So it was really dinky. Had my dog with me. And I hear what sounds like a raccoon. And it's cool. Raccoons will kind of snorkel like a pig outside my tent. At first, I didn't think much of it. It was full moon. I figured, raccoons move around, especially in a campground. They're going to be everywhere. And then it started sniffing the side of my tent. But not like a coon would. It was sniffing the seam line down along the bottom edge. And I thought that was very peculiar. It got around my shoulder area and it started growling. And it wasn't a raccoon growl. It was a very disturbing sounding growl. My dog, her hackles went up. She got quiet. She didn't bark. She just... And I know that when she gets her hackles up and she gets quiet, she's going to attack something. I've seen her do it before. Dummy went after a bear once. Anyhow, so I didn't slap the side of the tent. I didn't do anything to try to disturb this thing away because I didn't want it to try to come through my tent. Because it didn't sound the size of a raccoon either. It sounded more like almost human-sized. Its movement on the ground was more delayed than a raccoon and heavier sounding. And the next thing I know, this thing is trying to unzip the front of my tent. There was enough moonlight that I could tell it had fingers. It looked like maybe the hand of a teenager or a really large kid or something really skinny. It was very pale. Had no presumed hair on it of any kind. I couldn't see anything. It looked kind of waxy actually. Because I was laying right next to my door, so I got a, about a foot away view of this pair of 3 fingers coming through the edge of the tent. And I noticed the fingernails were really ragged and like torn and dirty, and they looked darker, but I don't know if that was from anything other than dirt. And I grabbed my knife, grabbed my dog, and when it started to open there, tried to open my tent, I told it, I said, you try to come in here, you're going to be in little cubes when I'm done with you. And all of a sudden it stopped trying to open my tent, and I went, wait a minute, this thing's got the ability to perceive language. What is it? So I held, and it held for about 15-20 seconds, and then it moved off. It left. So I poked my head up. I hadn't put my rain fly on that night, and I kind of pushed the screen up so I could see it as it was leaving. It was an incredibly gaunt, scrawny looking, pale-skinned humanoid of some kind. And it crawled away like a crawler or a wraith. So I assumed it was something like that. But evidently, they got brains enough to understand what you're saying to them, and that is a little scary.